Developed than the good which I have just disposed of. For the course of Jekyll's life has been, after all, 9/10 a life of effort, virtue, and control. I am Mr. Hyde, the evil which lay within. Tonight, Dr. Jekyll, you have reached a fatal crossroads. Had you approached this discovery in a more noble spirit, had you wished this experiment under the empire of more generous or pious aspirations, all would have been otherwise. And from these agonies of death and birth, you would have brought forth an angel instead of a fiend. But when you administered the drug, your virtue slumbered, your evil kept awake by ambition, and I was quick to seize the occasion. So now, although you have two characters as well as two appearances, I am wholly evil. Well, you, Henry Jekyll, are still the same incongruous compound whose reformation and improvement you have already learned to despair. So your movement will be wholly toward the worse. Well, I am free, and have already won the battle.
Story.
Indeed, and what was that?
Well, it was this way. I was coming from someplace at the end of the world at about 3 o'clock of a black winter morning, and my way lay through where there was literally nothing to be seen but lamps. Street after street, all the folks asleep. Street after street, all lighted up as if for procession, and all as empty as a church. Till at last I got into the state of mind when a man listens and begins to long for the sight of a policeman. All at once I saw two figures. One, a little man who was stumbling along eastward at a good walk, and the other, a girl, maybe 8 or 10, who was running as hard as she was able down a cross street. Well, sir, the two ran into each other naturally enough at the corner. Then came the horrible part of the thing, for the man trampled calmly over the child's body and left her screaming on the ground. Well, it sounds nothing to hear, but it was hellish to see. It was like a man who was like some damn juggernaut. I gave a view, hello, I took to my heels, cut off my gentleman, and brought him back, but there was actually quite a group about the screaming child. He was perfectly cool and made no resistance. Gave me a look so ugly that it brought out the sweat on me like running. People would have turned out with the girl's own farm.
Well, that was a lucky turn.
Yes, and the doctor, for whom he had been sent, put in his appearance.
And what did the doctor say?
Well, the child was not much the worse, more frightened, according to the savants. And that, you would have supposed, would be the end of it.
Well, yes, since, as you said, the child was no worse for it, no real harm done.
Except for one curious circumstance.
And what would that be?
I had taken a loathing to my gentleman on first sight, so the child's family, which was only natural. But the doctor's case was what struck me. was the usual cut-and-dry apothecary of no particular age or colour, with a strong Edinburgh accent, about as emotional as a bagpipe. Well, sir, he was like the rest of us. Every time he looked at my prisoner, I saw that Sawbones turned sick and white with his desire to kill him. I knew it was in his mind, killing me out of the question. We did the next best.
And what would that be?
We told him we could and would make such a scandal out of this as should make him stink from one end of London to the other.
Yes, yes, public shame, separate him from his friends, destroy his credit. Not that it sounds he has much of either.
Oh, he was quite easy and sneering. I will stay with you till the bank's open and cash the check myself.
Well, that's something.
Yes, indeed. And, well, all the while we were pitching it in red hot, we were keeping the women off them as best we could, for they were as wild harpies. I had never seen a group of such hateful faces, and there was the man in the middle, with a kind of black, sneering coolness. Frightened too. I could see that, but carried off, sir, really, like Satan.
How awful.
Yes, the awful fiend. Finally, he said, set your mind at ease. I will stay with you till the bank's open and cash the check myself.
That is something.
Perhaps, but we screwed him up just the same to £100 for the child's family. He clearly would have liked to stick it out. There's something about the lot of us that meant mischief, and at last he struck.
Very good, very good.
So, the next thing was to get them up. And where do you think he carried us? But to this place here, with the door. Whipped out a key, went in, and presently came back with a matter of £10 in gold and a cheque for the balance, drawn payable to the bear, and signed with a name I can't mention. That's one of the points of my story. But it is a name at least very well known and often printed. The figure was stiff, but the signature was good for more than that. It was only genuine.
Like as not, how could one so low associate with one so high?
Well, yes, so I pointed out to my gentleman that the whole business looked apocryphal. And the man does not, in real life, walk into a cellar door at 4 in the morning and come back with another man's cheque for close upon £100.
Exactly.
Oh, he was quite easy. Finally, he told me, if you wish to make a capital out of this accident, I am naturally helpless. No gentleman wishes to avoid a scene. Name your figure.
You had to spend the night with such a monster.
Oh yes, we all set off. The doctor and the child's father, our friend and myself. We passed the rest of the night in my chambers.
Really?
And the next morning, after we breakfasted, went in a body to the bank. I gave the cheque myself and said I had every reason to believe this was forgery. Not a bit of it. The cheque was genuine.
Tut-tut.
I see you feel as I do. Yes, it is a bad story for my man is a fellow that nobody could have to do with. A really damnable man. And what makes it worse, the person who drew the cheque was the very pink of proprieties. Celebrated too. And one of your fellows do what they call good.
Blackmail, I suppose.
Yes, blackmail is the only thing that could be supposed. An honest man paying through the nose for some of the capers of his youth. Blackmail House is what I call this place with the door. Though in consequence, even that, you know, is far from explaining all.
And you never asked if the drawer of the cheque lives there?
No, sir, I have a delicacy. I feel very strongly about putting questions. It partakes too much of the style of the day of judgment. You start a question, and it's like starting a stone. You sit at the top of the hill, and away the stone goes. Starting others, and presently some bland old bird, the last you would have thought of, is knocked on the head in his own back garden, and the family has to change the name. No, sir, I make a rule of mine. The more it looks like Queer Street, the less I ask.
And a very good rule, too. As I always say, let my brother go to the devil in his own way.
But I have studied the house for myself. It seems scarcely a house. There's no other doors but that one. Nobody goes in or out of it, except, once in a great while, the gentleman of my adventure. There are 3 windows overlooking the court, none below, on the first floor. The windows are always shut, but they're clean. And there is a chimney which is generally smoking, so somebody must live there. And yet, it is not so sure, for the buildings are so packed together that it is hard to say where one ends.
Enfield, that's a good rule of yours.
Yes, Mr. Addison, I believe it is.
But for all that, there is one point point I want to ask. I want to ask the name of the man who walked over the child.
Well, I can't see the harm it would do. It was a man by the name of Hyde.
What sort of man was he to see?
Oh, he was not easy to describe. There's something wrong with his appearance, something displeasing, something downright detestable. I never saw a man so disliked, and yet scarce knew why. He must be deformed somewhere. He has a strong feeling of deformity. Yet I really can't get nothing out of the way. He's an extraordinary looking man, but I can't make hand of it. No, sir, I can't describe him, and it's not want of memory, for I declare I can see him at this moment.
Are you sure he used a key?
My dear sir!
Yes, I know it seems strange, but the fact is, if I do not ask the name of the other party, it is because I know it already. As a lawyer, I must strictly hold the confidence of my clients. But you see, Richard, your tale has gone home. If you have been inexact in any point, you had better correct it.
I think you might have warned me, but I've been perfectly exact, as you call it. The fellow had a key. And what's more, he has it still. I saw him use it, but not a week ago. Here's another lesson to say nothing. I'm ashamed of my long tongue. Let us bargain never to speak on this again.
With all my heart, Richard, I shake hands on that.